What up, campers? Happy New Year. We are back with a new RV camping video. We're broadcasting live from the Why We Work headquarters here in Atascadero. If you're wondering why, that's part of the reason why we're making this video, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We're here with the top 10 reasons why you should not get into travel trailer camping, and then I'm going to give you 10 reasons why you probably still should. So let's get it. Okay, so hopefully, actually, just to clarify, by the time you watch this, I will already have gotten my trailer back, but it's in the shop right now, and I made another bonehead move, and so they're in there taking care of that, but that's one of my later rules. Let's start at the beginning. The number one reason why you should not get into travel trailer camping is because there is a huge startup cost. Number one, you got to get a trailer, and you can find used trailers that are a very good deal. Absolutely no doubt about it. Let somebody else take the depreciation. That's always good advice. But even when you get a good used trailer, you're still talking about spending, a couple $1,000, at least 5 to 10,000, all the way on up to ones that are so expensive they're, will make your eyes explode out of your head, essentially. It's not just those startup costs that go into actually buying the rig. Then you got to get, all the little bits and pieces. And we actually have a good list up on our website that you can check out if you're just getting into this. But, it's a lot of just little stuff. Got to get all kinds of just little bits and bobs. And it's like death by 1,000 cuts, sometimes $20 here, $10 there, sometimes a couple $100. Just to even get going, all the sewer stuff, all of your utility connections, etc. And so the outlay is pretty big. So even if you kind of go the most economical route possible, we're still talking about a fairly good sized chunk of money. So that's number one. The sad part is the excitement doesn't end there, because even once you get all set up and dialed in and you're ready to go, there's a lot of ongoing costs. Maintenance, you gotta grease your bearings, you gotta wash it, especially after you spend that money, right? You don't want to dump a huge chunk of money and then let it just kind of go all down the drain. There's just a lot of normal stuff like tires. Your water heater's only got so many cycles in it. The fridge will eventually have to be replaced, and so there's the huge upfront cost, but then number two is just kind of all that ongoing stuff that you have to kind of keep dumping into it. We don't get a lot of extreme weather here in Atascadero, but for those of you who do live in those harsh winter climates, then you've obviously got to do winterizing every year, de-winterizing and cleaning everything back out, and so that's just another thing to keep in mind as a potential con. Number three, and this one definitely just depends on who you are. It's not going to be the same for everyone, but there's a big learning curve involved. Learning how to hook up at the shore power and all your utilities and all that stuff, how to dump a black tank. We've seen some guys, and I think I'll post a link to our video from Paradise Campground, but there was a German guy who didn't know how to do that, and let's just say that was not a pleasant experience for him or anybody else there. Lots to learn when you get a new RV. Setting up at camp, there's just a lot of different items. We have a good checklist as well for how to set up at camp, but there's it can seem overwhelming when you first get into it, and again, lots to learn about the whole process from hooking up to getting to camp to what you do when you set up at camp and breaking down and coming home and everything in between. And I kind of alluded to this already, but I think the other big one is towing. It can be scary, it can be hard. You've got people waiting, honking, you're trying to back into a space and people are trying to get by, you feel like an idiot. It's something that you definitely pick up, and practice makes perfect. There's no doubt about it. But that first time you get behind the wheel, you're like white knuckling it, like, bro, I don't know. You've got a lot on the line, obviously, when you're towing. And I think that's where most of the stress comes from, right? Because lives are at stake. You've usually got all your loved ones in there with you. And so, A, you don't want to screw it up. And B, you don't want to look like an idiot. My advice there is to just ignore everybody else. But that is a a potential con for those of you who haven't done it like me, and you're getting in, basically diving right into the deep end. I grew up going to the desert and riding quads and three-wheelers and stuff like that, but somebody else was always doing the towing. Generally, even once I started driving, I put my three-wheeler in the back of my truck and didn't do a lot of towing. Even in ag, when I was in FFA, you know, somebody else was driving the trailer. I was kind of the one there goofing off. Number 5 is one that is unavoidable. Again, I kind of already alluded to this, but when you're taking a house, essentially, and putting it on a trailer and driving it down the road at 60 miles an hour, stuff breaks. So we've had our sink fall out, and you can check out the video if your sink's falling out and you need to know how to put it back in. I did it the easy way, but you know, there's stuff like that. You hear all the time about people's controller boards going out for their electricity, or the board goes out in the refrigerator, or drain plumbing stuff comes apart. That's just the nature of RVing, and so you've kind of got to be open to being a little bit of a DIYer. For the big stuff, you can still take it in if you want, but you know, you kind of got to go in eyes wide open that stuff is gonna break. I think, you know, even with the best constructed trailers, again, just because of how we're beating these things up so bad, you're bound to have something break. And you know, there's some that are worse than others, so make sure to do your homework. But I'm telling you, even if you get the perfect trailer, you're still gonna have stuff break on you. That's just how it goes. 6 is one I think that's easy to forget. You know, you're in these Facebook groups and you're seeing people camping at all these awesome places, but another con is that campgrounds are hard to get. It can be a pain in the butt, especially if you're going to a state park, national park. They open them up 6 months in advance on the day, and if you're not on the computer at 7 a.m., or even if you are, and you have everything queued up, I mean, they're just, you know, getting taken out from under you. You can't click, you know, book fast enough on those days, and so you have this vision in your head where you're like going to be on all these pristine beaches and in the middle of Yosemite right under Half Dome. You'll definitely get some of that for sure, but it's a lot harder to get that kind of killer campground, and it's hit and miss, and you're going to do some experimenting, and you're not always going to be able to get that exact ideal spot that you always wanted to go to. That's kind of the dark side of RVing that you don't really hear about a lot. Everyone wants to share their awesome pictures, but don't want to tell you how it, you know, how hard it was just to get in that spot in the first place. The other thing, and I know I'm like starting to sound like a broken record here on the finances, but the campgrounds themselves are expensive, right? So not only are they hard to get, once you get them, it can really start to add up. You think that camping is like such a cheap activity, but you know, even at a state park, you're talking about like $40 to $60 a night, at least out west. And you know, you spend a couple weekends a month trying to do that, it's several $100s. I could like probably have a better truck if we weren't doing all this camping. That's why we want to start doing a lot more boondocking. But again, the finances, you know, it's the gift that keeps on giving in terms of spending to get it, spending on all the upkeep and maintenance, and spending on the campgrounds and the diesel that you got to spend to get there, gas or whatever. That's a con, right? Spending more money is a con no matter how you slice it. It's not to say it's not worth it, but definitely just another bucket of things to kind of throw your money at. Number 8 is a serious one, and I think it's one that you really got to consider, because you know, when you kind of put all that money together, the upfront costs, the ongoing maintenance, you know, again, you're talking about a minimum, I would say, of about $5,000, you know, all the way upwards of, you know, hundreds of thousands. And for me, it's important to know that that basically locks you into a specific type of vacation. You know, thousands of dollars pays for a lot of plane tickets. It pays for a lot of nights in a hotel room if you want to go to Vegas or go to Hawaii or do something like that. And so you're really just kind of prepaying for your leisure time and your activity to be out there. And so, you know, once you're kind of tens of thousands of dollars in on this, you know, hobby, depending on what truck you get, and trailer or motorhome or whatever, that translates into a lot of kind of foregone other types of vacations that you might be doing. And so for me, I think if you're just into going once or twice a year even, or you just want to do it once and go check out the Grand Canyon or check out Yosemite or go up to Humboldt and see the redwoods, and we've got, you know, tons of great campgrounds up above that you can check out. But if you're not going to do it kind of like as a lifestyle, and we're not full-timers by any means, but we are pretty avid weekend warriors, and when I get into the pros, we'll talk about all the reasons why it's worth it, but you do kind of shoehorn yourself into being an RV camper. And so that's something I think to take really seriously, because not only is it kind of locking you in, but that money that you would spend doing the RV thing, you'd have to come up with basically on the front end versus kind of paying for different vacations as you save up the money and go for a trip, etc. Okay, and then number 10 reason why you should not get into RV camping is because you're never gonna find that rig that's the perfect rig. I realized I forgot number 9. That would be parking and storage, parking/storage. One of the things to keep in mind is that you're either going to have to pay somebody to store it, or you're going to have some set up in your garage. I'm currently in the middle of a DIY project while my trailer's in the shop, but that's another thing to keep in mind, because it's either going to cost you money, it's going to cost you space, which you're paying for either through rent or whatever, and so that's another negative, or just something that you're going to have to figure out how to accommodate. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my trailer, but there's always going to be something wrong with the quality, with the layout. There's going to be things that bug you. There's going to be things that they could have done better. There's going to be things that you wish you have, or that you think you want later. I want to point that out, because there's a lot of great rigs out there, and you definitely want to do your homework and find out which one is the best for you. But just know that no matter which one you get, even if you love it to death like I do, there's still going to be things that you wish were different. And so that kind of takes care of the top 10 cons. And I saved the best for last, because ultimately, you guys know me, I love camping and we're all in on it. But I do think that people should go in eyes wide open. But kind of here's my own rebuttal to kind of all of those things that we just ran through. Number 1, and it should come as no surprise because it's the name of our channel, it's the reason why we do this, it's kind of making those memories with the ones that matter most. I don't get into personal stuff usually all the time, but if you go back and watch our original channel trailer, we kind of go into some of that stuff. But suffice it to say that I spent many years just grinding at work, trying to make that money and not focusing on what really mattered in life. And you wake up and you realize that your kids are half grown up and you haven't spent any of that quality time. And so for me, when I'm camping, I feel like that's when I'm truly alive and doing what I'm supposed to. I'm disconnected. I'm giving myself permission not to be online and to go for that bike ride with the kids, or when the kids say, "Dad, will you play this game with me?" to say yes, or to go for that hike and to see these beautiful sights. That's the key, and that's why we're here, and that's what life should be all about, right? We're not going to look back when we're dying and say, look at all these stacks of money. We're going to say, remember when we saw that waterfall in Yosemite, or when we took the week off and went all the way up to Humboldt, saw the redwoods. And so if that's where you're trying to be in your life, then you couldn't pick a better hobby to do it, or even a lifestyle if you're going full-time, or just kind of make it your main thing. It's a slam dunk. Number 2 pro why you should become an RV camper is because it makes camping super easy. If you've ever camped in a tent, or if you don't like the idea of camping in a tent, you got to do all kinds of stuff to set up. And I know I mentioned all the kind of horrors of hitching up and driving and towing, etc. But once you get the hang of it, it's very easy. We're at the point now where we basically pull up, park, and we're essentially camping with minimal effort. And it just makes life so nice and so convenient that you just want to do it all the time. It's not a discouraging thing that you're kind of like, oh, we got to set up a camp. You're excited for every single trip. And number 3 kind of goes right along with that, is the modern conveniences. Having a kitchen, having a shower, having that ever critical, that oh so important bathroom is huge, and again just makes it so nice, because you can kind of go out, have amazing hikes, and see things that are kind of the best this country and this world has to offer, and then go back and use your own bedroom and bathroom and kind of sleep in a nice bed and eat a delicious meal. For me, that's another critical part, is camping, but with those modern conveniences. And speaking of modern conveniences, if you get a new RV, then you're going to come equipped with air conditioning. And we know that that is critical. You want to go out and use it in the summertime when the kids are off school and stuff like that. But you don't want to go out there and just be straight up roasting and miserable and uncomfortable. And so getting to a nice trailer into a sweet RV park with full hookups where you can blast that AC just makes it that much more enjoyable. When you got that AC, you're going to get out there and live it up for sure. And number 5 is just seeing this kind of beautiful country that we're so blessed to live in. You know, Nadia and I used to live abroad. Nadia's from South Africa, so she lived abroad her whole first, 17 years of life. But you know, when you're younger, you think you want to get out there and see the world and see all these crazy places and stuff like that. But only once I went abroad did I realize like how humongous and awesome the United States is. I mean, out there you could drive for 5 or 6 hours and you're in a whole nother country. Here in California, you can get in the car in San Diego, where I'm from, and drive for 14 hours and you're still in California. And so there's just so much to see. This country's got so much to offer and is so beautiful that seeing it in an RV is totally different than kind of flying to a major airport, taxiing to a hotel, and then kind of watching movies on HBO. You're really missing out on how much is out there. And so if you're looking to kind of make the most out of what we're so blessed to have, then you should definitely get into RV camping. And going right along with that, number 6 is just kind of enjoying the great outdoors. We spend so much time nowadays connected to devices on social media, and I'm totally guilty of that myself. But camping is a great way to force yourself into the great outdoors. You don't want to sit in the trailer all day. You're parked in an amazing spot. You want to go down to the beach or go up the mountain or head over to the lake or what have you. And again, it just kind of gives you that kick in the pants that you need, not just to explore this country, but once you're there, to be really present and actually experiencing things and living a real life. It's the bomb. Number 7 is critical, and this is part of my kind of mental health soapbox thing, but you're giving yourself permission to relax. To not only say yes to the kids, but to really disconnect, and it's something that you can't do when you're at home. Even when you stay at home and you decide like, hey, we're just going to chill this weekend and relax or whatever, you still have that nagging feeling that you should be doing something like, I should go out and fix that sprinkler. I need to go out and pick those weeds or what have you, or do my weed whacking and clear that brush that I keep procrastinating on. When you're 400 miles away from home and chilling in your camp chair, you're really giving yourself the permission to say, dude, chill, enjoy it. And that's another thing, and one of the reasons why I say that's when I really feel truly alive, is because you are giving yourself that permission just to kind of chill, relax, and enjoy yourself. Number 8, and if you go through our channel, you'll see a million like camp cooking meals, but is eating bomb food. So for me, that's one of the funnest parts, is not just being out and doing all the stuff that we've already talked about, but cooking and really, living it up while you're there, making some steak, smoking a killer brisket, doing ribs, just really doing it up and making sure you get that kind of maximum enjoyment. And that one isn't even really a big financial expense. You're going to be eating even when you're at home, and that's the way we always look at it. So we always tend to try and go big, or at least do something fun and new and exciting, and make it enjoyable, and not just do the kind of hot dog thing every single time. Number 9 is probably the first one, and the reason why you think about getting into it in the first place, but that's because it's just so much fun. You're swimming, you're riding bikes with your kids, you're playing those games, you're jumping off cliffs, you're just doing all kinds of exciting stuff and actually having fun. Even when you're just sitting around relaxing at home watching TV, is it really that fun? When you're actually out there being in the moment, which is, kind of my last one, which is to appreciate that life and being in the moment and also having fun. That's when you're doing what you're supposed to. At the end of the day, when we're all done and the clocks run out, right, you're gonna think about the fun that you had and the life that you actually appreciated, and not like all the work that you did, and even like professional accomplishments and things like that, because you know what it's really all about is the family, the ones that matter most. I say that, it's not a cliche, I truly believe it. They really do, and that's what we're really here for. And so camping, especially RV camping, is just a way to kind of check all those boxes. So, you know, look at those 10 cons that I threw out there and let me know which ones I missed down in the comments below. Let me know what are the pros that I missed as well, because I know that there's a lot of reasons, a lot of different reasons why people are out there camping. I'm excited to see what you guys think about my list. But all that being said, still humongously worth it. We're the biggest advocates of hardcore weekend warrioring, or even, you know, those of you guys who are brave enough to go full-time. Hats off. We salute you guys. That's awesome. So that's where we'll leave it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, we appreciate your support. If you want to give this video a thumbs up because you liked it, that would be awesome. Click subscribe, turn on those notifications, and we will see you on the next adventure.